Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifester, and I'm sure you are too because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives we're choosing. Whenever I do that little intro, I feel so good. I feel like I'm about to interact with the world in a way that I'm sharing something that I have. I'm sharing something that can add positivity to the world, something that can uplift people to some degree. I don't think we all shoot for this high level of stardom that so many people think is so important, and like fame and all the numbers and all the financial abundance related to our own image. I think that the biggest jobs are done when you have all of these areas where small pockets of people are adding on to the world, are creating change, or creating thought-provoking messages and helping each other sort of move up to different levels. So whatever way that you can do that would be the best way. I am not probably a one-on-one therapy type of person that, would be the person that you will come see in that type of sense. But what I can do and what I can offer are these types of videos. Like, this is my vessel. So it depends on who you are and how you like to interact with the world. And then you can bring the beauty that you have to the world. So when I do that intro, I always get excited because I think, like, this is my way. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy, right? Anyway, what I am discussing in this video is sometimes you do not see that you are healing. Sometimes you do not see that you are healing. And the reason why this topic is so important to me is because when you're on the road to manifesting the life that you choose, and when I talk about manifestation, and this is not to discredit or belittle anything anybody else is doing, I'm generally always talking about how you feel when you wake up, the types of environments you were in, what type of attitude and energy that you get to submerge yourself in every single day, what type of relationships that you have with other people, what type of relationship you have in a career, a workspace, a business that you're owning. And yes, that comes along with material things, but that's not always the primary focus of my manifestation conversations. I think sometimes we get misconstrued when you say the word manifestation. A lot of people go directly to you being self-centered and you want to bring things in your life just for you. And that's not necessarily the case. A lot of times our goal of manifestation directly impacts those around us, because when we're at peace, when we're in a loving space, when we're in a space where we can grow and expand and be our best versions of ourselves, live in our highest version, live on our highest timelines, then we have the most to give and to share with other people. So when I talk about manifesting, I'm generally talking about the levels of contentment and peace that we want to bring about in our life and space. And what I do know about that journey is that sometimes we can have things that have traumatized us at a very young age, or traumatized us as teenagers, or traumatized us in our 20s, or whatever stage you are in this process. And when those things happen, it's sometimes very hard to not think of anybody or anything related to those instances without feeling that deep visceral pain that came along with the initial betrayal or the initial trauma or the initial offense, right? And I don't feel like anything is wrong with this, but when we start to create that manifesting path and we start to meditate more and we start to give our time and energy to get past those things so that we're not walking around harboring negative energy and negative feelings, because while we think other people may deserve that part, they may deserve the negative energy or the unforgiveness and all, I think we know at this point, or we should know at this point in our lives, that if we're harboring that energy, we're just bringing it back to ourselves. We're giving it back to ourselves over and over again. So in that process, we can be in the process of doing the meditations. We can be in the process of journaling and scripting. Believe me, I've done all this. One of the biggest offenses that I've experienced in my life was around, 30 years old. So, we're looking at more than a decade ago. to where these issues arise in my life. And I had such a hard time accepting it because it felt like something that should not have been happening to me. And I think that's the biggest mistake that we make in life. We always think that somehow we should escape the vicissitudes of life, when really everybody has a story. Everybody has an issue that they have to overcome and move on from, and nobody's immune to that. And so when these things were happening, I remember I immediately just wanted to feel better, and I wanted to feel better so badly. I remember scripting things. I was always reading the right books, saying the right prayers, doing meditation, doing all these release rituals. I would write down all the things that made me angry about the person or the people or the places, and then like ball it up and, put it in a pot and, burn it, and hopefully it goes away. And I remember telling somebody that was related to me how good it felt to do that. And I remember them saying that, well, it's just not going to go away because you did some type of ritual. And it felt so defeating and deflating because I really just wanted to move past it. I really wanted to feel better. I didn't want to care anymore that somebody had done something specific to me, or someone had offended me in a certain way or treated me a certain way. I wanted to get past it. I wanted to feel better. And throughout this process, the only thing that I had to hold on to was the rituals and the methods and the processes. And one of the rituals being prayer, right? A lot of people don't call prayer a ritual, but it really is. It's this physical notion that we sit there and we say these words, although you can feel prayer, you can convey prayer, and you can do all of that in your mind without even sitting there holding your hands in this position or this position, depending on what religion you were in, right? I grew up doing this position. And like, you can do these things. And so it was a constant pushback on, I do not want to feel bad about this today. I do not want this to color all of my relationships. And what I do notice is that over time, I started consuming myself with other things, especially raising my daughters. That was a huge one. I started embedding myself into, what do they need? How can I grow? What can I give them? How can I be better today, tomorrow, the next day, and all that stuff? And so I looked up one day, a couple of years later, and somebody brought up something, and generally somebody related to you, right? They brought up something that in a couple of years earlier would have truly wrecked me, would have truly made me feel like, well, you haven't grown at all. You haven't expanded at all. You haven't outgrown this hurt and this pain that you've experienced from this situation. But when they brought this up, and I don't know if it was meant to hurt or if it was meant to just test and see if you're the same little person that, that I can manipulate or treat a certain way, to see if you're just that same person that I can get under the skin of. But when it happened, I felt absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing. And I want to say that because if you ask me about the process and like, what are the exact steps that I was taking? I just know at the same time that I was journaling every day about the beautiful things in my life. At that time, I had created my fourth book, which is the Gratitude Journal, which I just ordered one for myself so I can start over, which I love to fill out every night. And I used to give them to my daughters every night. They have years of gratitude journals, right? I had also done a lot of scripting. I had also joined groups where other women were trying to heal specific things about themselves and their own journeys. I had surrounded myself by different types of people on a regular basis. I had gotten outside of my comfort zone with so many things in life. I had healed a lot of my financial scarcity mindset. Not all of it, but a lot of it I had worked on. I had furthered my education so that I can be a benefit in different environments and I can continue to create and expand and grow in my career. So there were so many other things that I was focused on, but in the process, I didn't even notice that I was healing. I didn't even notice that the healing was happening. And a lot of people may think it's the same thing as turning a blind eye. It wasn't turning a blind eye because in that process, I was still holding myself specifically accountable for how I felt every single day, specifically accountable for what I wanted to experience and get out of this life. So while I was doing those little things and writing down what I was grateful for, the stuff that I felt was like, major offenses in my life, they started to be able to dwindle. And you hear that phrase all the time that says, where attention goes, energy flows. And that's sort of the approach that I'd taken to a lot of what was happening in my life. I was like, give all of my attention to this beautiful family that I've created. Give all of my attention to this expansion that I want to experience. Give all of my attention to being a beautiful vessel for the world so that I can bring something at some point that I can share and give and become, and show other people how to share and give and become and expand and be the abundance that they want to live in. And during that process, you could have never told me that I was healing these things. You could have never told me that I was moving on to a new level. Now, there are things that have happened in my past that I can't even remember to think about. There are people that have crossed my path that they don't even cross my mind anymore. And there was a time when they consumed me 24/7. So I say all this to say that sometimes we just have to put our head down and just keep doing the work. We just have to put our head down and decide, I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to give anybody full control over my life, even 5-10 years after they are out of it. They still have the ability to put me in a bad mood with some old energy. You have to decide. That's an active decision that you have to make. And then continue to do the work. And then continue to journaling. Continue to scripting. Continue surrounding yourself with the right types of people. Continue consuming the right types of content when you're on the internet. Like you're not just doom scrolling. And it's a video I just did about that. Continue creating this space, this bubble of expansion and appreciation. And during that process, you won't even realize that you are healing yourself, because a lot of people think that you can't change in life. I've had people specifically tell me that you can't change. And I can honestly say that was a lie. They were projecting their own limitations of not being able to change on me. And you got to surround yourself with people who don't believe that you can't change things about yourself. And it's not even necessarily like becoming an entirely new person. Yes, I think that's possible for a lot of people. But sometimes it's just a matter of reshuffling the aspects of who we are until the stuff that actually helps us and expands us knows how to grow. I'm still as passionate as the person who used to have bouts of anger in my youth. I'm still that same passionate person, but now I know where to place my passion at. Now I know what to give my energy to. And I don't let anybody else have control. I don't let anybody else try to tame, the lion. I am in charge of the lion. I know when that lion needs to come out and when it doesn't. And 99.99% of the time, nobody and nothing is worth it coming out in a negative way or a way that's going to be less beneficial to me. But that energy is still inside of me. That fire still burns in me. We just have to know how to use it and where to use it. So a lot of times people think that you got to just completely ignore and get rid of all aspects of yourself in order to heal. But sometimes it's just a reshuffling. It's like, what's a priority? What's important? You do the scripting, you do the journaling, you take in the right content, you read the right books, you surround yourself with the right people. And before you know it, areas of you that you thought you would never see the light of day and beauty in, they will heal. Areas of you that you thought you were going to struggle with for a very long time, they will begin to heal. It has no choice but to. The more and more I become the version of myself who I truly know that I am, and I don't think about whether people dislike something about me. I don't think about whether they're going to be disappointed in me. I don't have time for that. The less I've experienced anxiety in my whole entire life. And so it's finally clicked to me that anytime you are in a space or an environment where you feel that feeling in your stomach, where you feel that panic that's arising in you or something related to it, you are in the wrong space. Either you need to line up with the space or get out of the space. And that's all it is. If I'm worried about what people are going to think about me because of a decision that I made, first of all, then they're not very valuable people if they think my decisions need to wrap around what they need and what they want from me all the time. We have to get to a space where we understand these things in us can heal. But every time something comes up that shows us that we still have a little work to do there, we can't ignore it. We got to just think, I still have more work to do there. I still have more expansion to do there. We have to get to the place where we're not worried about what other people are going to think about us on a regular basis. It's not our business. I can't even express that enough. When you get to that place where you're willing to just be free like that, man, almost anything can be healed inside of you. But one of the biggest things that I want you to take away from this video is that we don't always see it happening. Because sometimes healing is happening in such a deep area of us, in such a slow motion, in such slow motion, in a space that we may not even have access to. We may not be able to even see on a regular basis. But when we get to those new spaces, when we're on that new timeline, when we've moved into the new trajectory, we can look back and go, Oh man, that was a part of my healing and I didn't even know it. She was a part of my healing and I didn't know it. He was a part of my healing and I didn't even know it. So many people I'm grateful for who are probably not grateful for me, who've been in my past, who've walked the path. They were a huge part of my healing. And sometimes people can stay around when the healing has happened, but sometimes they don't, and they can, and that's okay. But just know that just because you can't see it happening, it doesn't mean that you are not being healed in any particular moment. It doesn't mean that your life is not improving. It doesn't mean that you're not getting to the expansion and the abundance that you would like to manifest and achieve in your life. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.